Before we get into this story, if you are new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button right now, give this video a like, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Because what you are about to watch is one of those stories that you will think about for days. It is a story that proves something the world rarely believes. Sometimes the richest man in the room is also the loneliest. It is that powerful. Now let us get into it. Daniel Hayes had everything people spend their entire lives chasing. Private jets, glass skyscrapers with his name shining across the top, companies worth billions. But every night, Daniel Hayes went home to silence. Not peaceful silence. The heavy kind. The kind that reminds you there's nobody waiting. Nobody asks how your day went. Nobody who loves you for you. And that pain started long before the money arrived. Daniel grew up poor in a small apartment above a laundromat. His mother worked double shifts while his father disappeared before Daniel even learned how to ride a bike. At 14, he was already fixing computers for neighbors just to help pay rent. At 22, he built a small tech startup in his college dorm room. At 30, he sold that company for his first $100 million. And by 40, he had become a billionaire. The world called him a genius. Business magazines called him unstoppable. But Daniel knew a secret nobody else saw. The richer he became, the faker the world around him felt. Women suddenly became interested in him after they learned his name. Friends appeared during successful moments and disappeared during difficult ones. Every smile felt calculated. Every conversation felt like a negotiation. Even dates felt like interviews for access to his life. Eventually, Daniel stopped trying. He focused only on work. Work didn't lie. Numbers didn't pretend. Deals didn't fake affection. And for years, that was enough. Until one night changed everything. It happened on a cold Thursday evening. Daniel had just finished the most exhausting board meeting of his career. His partners argued for 3 straight hours. Investors demanded higher profits. Lawyers debated strategies. Everyone wanted something from him. By the time the meeting ended, Daniel felt like his head was filled with noise. So instead of calling his driver, he walked alone, something he rarely did anymore. The city streets were quieter than usual. Rain had started falling softly. People rushed past him with umbrellas, barely noticing the man worth billions walking beside them. And strangely, Daniel liked that. For once, nobody recognized him. Nobody asked for anything. Just another man walking through the rain. After 15 minutes of wandering, Daniel noticed a small dinner glowing with warm yellow lights. It was the kind of place most billionaires never enter. Cheap coffee, old booths, neon signs flickering in the window, but something about it felt welcoming. So Daniel stepped inside, and that's when he saw her. Her name was Lily Carter. She was carrying 3 plates at once while laughing with a customer at the counter. Her brown hair was tied loosely behind her head. Her uniform looked slightly worn from long shifts. But her smile felt real. Not the polished smile people use at business meetings. Not the rehearsed smile people give billionaires. Just a normal smile from someone who had nothing to gain. When Lily noticed Daniel standing near the door, she walked over casually. She didn't freeze. She didn't whisper his name. She didn't stare like most people did. Instead, she simply said, "You look cold. Coffee." Daniel blinked in surprise. For a moment, he almost laughed. Nobody had spoken to him that casually in years. "Sure," he replied quietly. Lily led him to a booth near the window and poured coffee into a chipped white mug. Daniel watched her carefully. Still no recognition. Still no awkward reaction. Finally, he asked the question he always asked when someone didn't seem to recognize him. "Do you know who I am?" Lily shrugged. "Should I?" Daniel stared at her for a second. Then something unexpected happened. He laughed. Not the polite laugh he used in meetings. A real laugh. And that moment became the beginning of a story neither of them expected. But what Daniel didn't realize was that someone else inside the dinner had just taken a photo. And that single photo would soon turn Lily's quiet life upside down. The next night, Daniel came back. And the night after that. At first, Lily assumed he was just another regular customer. He always ordered the same thing. Coffee. Sometimes pancakes. Sometimes nothing at all. Sometimes he just sat quietly while working on his laptop. They talked about small things. Music. Childhood memories. Funny customer stories. Normal conversations Daniel hadn't experienced in years. Lily never asked about his wealth. Never asked about his companies. Never treated him differently. To her, he was just Daniel. And slowly, that became the most valuable thing in his world. But the world outside the diner was about to discover their secret. And when it did, Nothing would stay simple again. The next morning started like any other day for Lily Carter. She woke up early in her small apartment above a grocery store, stretched lazily, and checked her phone while making instant coffee. 30 notifications blinked on her screen. At first she assumed it was just spam, but when she opened the first message, her heart skipped. It was a text from one of her coworkers. "Lily, why are you on the news?" She frowned. "What?" Another message came. Then another. Then 10 more. Confused, Lily opened the link someone had sent her. The headline appeared across the screen. Billionaire Daniel Hayes spotted in small local dinner. Below the headline was a photo. Daniel sitting in their booth, coffee in his hand, and Lily standing beside him with a notepad. Her stomach dropped. She kept reading. The article explained that Daniel Hayes, one of the richest tech investors in the country, had been secretly visiting a small dinner for several nights. Speculation spread instantly. Was he buying the property? Was he meeting someone secretly? Was it a business deal? But what caught everyone's attention was the waitress standing next to him, Lily Carter. By the time she finished reading, the article already had thousands of shares, and her phone kept vibrating. She sat there silently for a long moment, because one thought kept repeating in her mind. Daniel never told her he was a billionaire. That evening, Lily arrived at the dinner feeling different. Every step felt heavier. Every thought felt louder. She kept replaying the conversations she had with Daniel. The jokes, the stories, the quiet moments over coffee. Had he been lying the entire time? Or had he simply never mentioned it? Customers whispered when she walked inside. Some had already seen the article. Even her manager approached her with curiosity. "Lily, you know that guy?" She shrugged nervously. "He's just a regular customer." But the entire shift felt strange. And then the dinner door opened. Daniel Hayes walked in, like he always did. Same calm expression, same quiet presence. But tonight the entire dinner noticed him. Several customers immediately recognized his face. Whispers spread across the room. Lily stood behind the counter, frozen. Daniel walked toward the booth near the window. Their booth. Then he looked at her. "Coffee?" he asked gently. The same question he asked every night. But tonight felt different. Lily slowly walked over and placed the coffee cup in front of him. Then she sat across from him instead of standing. Her voice was quiet. "You're a billionaire?" Daniel sighed softly. He knew this moment would eventually come. "Yes." The words sat heavy between them. Lily leaned back slightly. "So all this time, you just didn't think that was important to mention?" Daniel looked down at the table. "It's the first thing everyone usually cares about." Lily studied his face carefully. "And you didn't think I deserved to know?" Daniel met her eyes. "I didn't want it to change how you looked at me." For a long moment, Lily said nothing. Then she asked the question that truly mattered. "Did you lie to me?" Daniel shook his head. "No, I just didn't tell you everything." The dinner buzzed with whispers around them. Phones quietly took pictures. The moment was already spreading online again. But Lily barely noticed. She was staring at Daniel, trying to decide something. Finally, she said quietly, "I need some air." Then she stood up and walked outside, leaving Daniel alone in the booth. And for the first time since becoming a billionaire, Daniel felt nervous about losing someone. Rain had started again. Lily stood under the dinner's small awning, staring at the streetlights reflecting on the wet pavement. Her life had always been simple. Work, bills, sleep, repeat. But now suddenly she was connected to a man whose life existed on magazine covers. The door behind her opened. Daniel stepped outside. Neither of them spoke immediately. Finally, Lily broke the silence. "You know what the internet is saying about me." Daniel stayed quiet. "That I'm chasing your money," she continued. "That I planned this. That I trapped you." Her voice trembled slightly. "I didn't even know who you were." Daniel looked genuinely pained. "I know." She turned toward him. "Then why come here at all? Out of every place in the city." Daniel hesitated before answering honestly. "Because nobody here cares who I am." Lily crossed her arms. "And now?" Daniel looked toward the dinner window. Cameras inside were clearly recording them. "Now they do." The silence returned. Then Lily asked a quiet question. "Why keep coming back?" Daniel answered without hesitation. "Because you treat me like a normal person." That answer surprised her. She studied his face again. And suddenly something about his loneliness felt real. Not dramatic. Not exaggerated. Just real. But neither of them realized something important. Across the street, a news van had just parked, and reporters were already stepping out. Because the story of the billionaire and the waitress had just begun. The next morning the story exploded. News channels replayed the diner photos repeatedly. Headlines flooded social media. Tech billionaire secretly dating waitress? Love story or publicity stunt? Who is Lily Carter? Reporters arrived outside the dinner before it even opened. Customers came just to take pictures of Lily. Strangers recognized her on the street. Her quiet life had disappeared overnight. Meanwhile, Daniel faced a different storm. Inside his corporate headquarters, executives sat around a long glass table staring at the headlines. One board member spoke first. This relationship could damage the company. Another nodded. Investors are already asking questions. A third added coldly. You can't be serious about a waitress. Daniel leaned back in his chair calmly. And why not? The room fell silent. The chairman spoke carefully. Public perception matters. Daniel's voice remained steady. So does happiness. But the board wasn't convinced. Because billion-dollar empires don't like unpredictable stories. And a billionaire dating a waitress was the most unpredictable story of all. The attention did not slow down. It only grew stronger. Within 48 hours, the small dinner where Lily worked had become the most talked-about restaurant in the city. Cars parked along the entire street. People stood outside with their phones ready, hoping to capture a glimpse of the waitress who had somehow captured the attention of a billionaire. Inside the dinner, nothing felt normal anymore. Customers whispered when Lily walked past. Some smiled kindly. Others stared like she was part of a strange experiment. A few even asked directly, "Are you really dating Daniel Hayes?" Lily always gave the same answer. "I don't know." Because the truth was, she didn't. Daniel still came to the dinner, but their conversations had changed. The simple comfort they once shared had been replaced by the weight of the outside world watching every move. One evening, he arrived later than usual. The dinner was quieter than the past few days. Lily poured his usual coffee and sat across from him again. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Daniel said something unexpected. "I'm sorry." Lily frowned. "For what?" "For dragging you into my world." She sighed softly. "You didn't drag me anywhere. The internet did." Daniel looked around the dinner carefully. Cameras again. Phones again. He leaned forward slightly. "This won't stop." Lily raised an eyebrow. "What won't?" "The attention." He paused before finishing the sentence. "Unless I stop coming here." The words hung heavily between them. For a moment, Lily felt a strange tightness in her chest. Part of her knew that might be the easiest solution. Life could go back to normal. No reporters. No headlines. No strangers judging her. But another part of her realized something else. If Daniel stopped coming, she would miss him. That thought surprised her more than anything. Finally, she spoke quietly. "Is that what you want?" Daniel didn't answer immediately. Then he said something honest. "No." That night, they closed the dinner together. Lily's shift ended late. Most customers had finally gone home. The city outside felt calm again. Daniel helped stack chairs while Lily wiped the last table. Neither of them had spoken about the obvious question yet. What exactly were they to each other? Finally, Daniel broke the silence. "Would you have dinner with me?" Lily laughed lightly. "I already have dinner with you every night." "Not here," Daniel replied. "Somewhere else." She paused. "Somewhere expensive?" Daniel smiled slightly. "Probably." Lily looked at him carefully. This wasn't just about dinner. It was a step into his world. The world she had been avoiding. "What if I don't fit there?" she asked. Daniel shrugged gently. "Then we leave." His answer was simple, honest, and somehow comforting. After a long pause, Lily nodded. "Okay." But neither of them realized something important. Across the street again, a photographer was watching, and the photo he captured that night would become the most viral image of the week. The restaurant Daniel chose the next evening was the opposite of the dinner. Tall glass walls, soft piano music, waiters in perfect suits. Every table lit by small golden candles. When Lily walked inside, she felt the difference immediately. Everyone here looked polished, elegant, expensive, and for the first time since meeting Daniel, she felt out of place. Her dress was simple, her shoes slightly worn from work, but Daniel didn't seem to notice any of that. He simply pulled out a chair for her and smiled. "You look nervous." "I am," she admitted. He leaned closer and whispered quietly. "So am I." She blinked in surprise. "You?" Daniel nodded. "I haven't had dinner with someone who doesn't want something from me in a very long time." Lily studied him carefully again. There was that loneliness she had noticed the first night. It was real, and suddenly the expensive restaurant didn't feel so intimidating anymore. They talked for hours, longer than either of them expected. about childhood, about dreams, about mistakes. For the first time, Lily heard Daniel speak about his past. The poor apartment, his mother working nonstop, the years he spent building companies instead of building relationships. At one point, Lily asked softly, "Do you ever regret becoming this rich?" Daniel thought about the question seriously. Then he answered honestly, "Only when it costs me something real." Lily didn't respond, but she understood what he meant. And that moment became the quiet beginning of something deeper between them. But the peaceful dinner wouldn't stay private for long, because by the next morning, their photo together had reached millions of people. The internet was ruthless. Some people loved the story. They called it romantic, a billionaire falling for a waitress, a real-life fairy tale. But many others had a different opinion. Comment sections exploded with criticism. "She's obviously after his money. This relationship won't last a month. Billionaires don't marry waitresses." Lily tried not to read the comments, but curiosity always won eventually. One night after work, she scrolled through hundreds of messages. Strangers insulting her, accusing her, laughing at her. By the time she put the phone down, her eyes felt heavy. The next evening, Daniel noticed immediately. "You look tired." "I didn't sleep well." He knew the real reason. "Don't read the comments," he said gently. Lily forced a small smile. Too late. Daniel leaned back quietly. Then he made a decision, one that shocked even his closest advisors. The next morning, Daniel Hayes scheduled a press conference, and what he planned to say there would change everything. The following morning, the entire business world was watching. Daniel Hayes rarely spoke publicly unless it was about investments, technology, or billion-dollar deals. But this time the press conference had nothing to do with business. Dozens of reporters filled the room. Cameras pointed at the stage. Journalists whispered among themselves. Everyone already knew the reason they were there. The waitress, Lily Carter. When Daniel finally stepped onto the stage, the room immediately fell quiet. He stood behind the microphone calmly, adjusting his suit slightly. For a moment, he simply looked at the crowd of reporters. Then one journalist raised a hand and asked the question everyone had been waiting for. "Mr. Hayes, are you in a relationship with Lily Carter?" Flashes from cameras exploded across the room. Daniel didn't hesitate. "Yes." The single word immediately caused a wave of whispers across the room. Another reporter spoke quickly. "Many people believe she's using you for your money. What do you say to that?" Daniel's expression hardened slightly. Then he leaned closer to the microphone. "The only person in this situation who never asked me for anything is Lily." The room went silent again. Another question came. "Is this relationship serious?" Daniel answered calmly. "Yes." "Serious enough for marriage?" Daniel paused. Then he said something that shocked everyone in the room. "If I'm lucky enough." Within minutes, the statement exploded across the internet. News headlines changed instantly. Billionaire defends waitress in press conference. Daniel Hayes. "She never asked me for anything." But while the world debated the story, Lily was sitting alone in her apartment watching it all unfold. And what she heard during that press conference made her realize something terrifying. This relationship had just become real. That evening, Lily expected Daniel to come to the dinner again. But he didn't. Instead, there was a knock on her apartment door. She opened it slowly. Daniel stood there. No cameras. No reporters. Just him. For a moment, they both stood silently. Finally, Lily spoke. "You didn't have to do that." Daniel tilted his head. "Do what?" "The press conference." He shrugged lightly. "Yes, I did." "Why?" Daniel looked directly at her. "Because they were attacking you." Lily sighed and leaned against the door frame. "You know what you just did?" "What?" "You made this story 10 times bigger." Daniel smiled slightly. "And probably." Lily crossed her arms. "And you're okay with that?" Daniel's voice became softer. "I'm okay with the truth." The hallway fell quiet again. Then Lily asked a question she had been thinking about for days. "Why me?" Daniel didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at the floor for a moment before speaking honestly. "Because when you first brought me coffee," he paused, "you didn't care who I was." Lily stared at him silently. That answer hit deeper than she expected. But there was still something she needed to say. "Daniel, your world is huge. Mine isn't. And eventually those worlds might crash." Daniel nodded slowly. "I know, but I'm willing to try." Those words lingered in the air between them. And for the first time, Lily felt her guard slowly lowering. But at that exact moment, Daniel's phone began ringing. He checked the screen. His expression changed instantly. "Who is it?" Lily asked. Daniel looked up at her. "My father." and the tension in his voice made Lily realize something important. The biggest challenge in their relationship had not even started yet. Daniel's father was not just another wealthy man. Richard Hayes was one of the most powerful investors in the country. He had helped Daniel build his empire from the beginning. But Richard Hayes believed in one rule above everything else. Power protects power. And to him, a waitress did not belong in that world. Later that night, Daniel arrived at his father's mansion. The house looked more like a palace than a home. Tall iron gates, marble floors, walls decorated with expensive paintings. Richard Hayes stood near the fireplace waiting. His expression was cold. "So it's true," his father said. Daniel remained calm. "Yes." Richard shook his head slowly. "A waitress." Daniel crossed his arms. "Her name is Lily." Richard ignored the correction. "You're embarrassing the family." Daniel didn't react. "This isn't about love," Richard continued. "This is about reputation." Daniel finally responded. "No, this is exactly about love." The room became tense. Richard walked closer. "You built an empire, Daniel. And you're risking it for a woman who serves coffee?" Daniel's answer was calm but firm. "She serves honesty." Richard stared at his son silently. Then he delivered a warning. "If you continue this relationship," he paused, "don't expect my support." Daniel looked directly into his father's eyes. "That's your choice." And with that he turned and walked out of the mansion. But as he stepped outside into the cold night air, even Daniel knew the situation had just become far more complicated. Because when powerful families oppose something, they rarely lose quietly. The days that followed were harder than Lily expected. Much harder. The internet had already judged her, but now the real world was starting to do the same. Customers at the diner began behaving differently. Some treated her like a celebrity. Others treated her like a criminal. One afternoon, a woman sitting near the window called Lily over with a sarcastic smile. "So, how does it feel?" the woman asked. Lily frowned slightly. "How does what feel?" "Dating a billionaire." The woman replied loudly, so everyone could hear. A few people nearby laughed. Lily forced a polite smile. "It feels like drinking coffee with someone." The woman rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. You must be planning your luxury wedding already." The words stung more than Lily expected, but she stayed calm. "Can I get you anything else?" she asked. The woman smirked. "Yes." She paused. "His bank account number." More laughter filled the diner. Lily walked away quietly, pretending it didn't bother her. But inside her chest something heavy was growing. Because the truth was, she had never asked Daniel for anything. Yet everyone believed she had. While Lily faced judgment in the dinner, Daniel faced pressure inside his corporate empire. His advisors were worried. His investors were nervous. His board members were furious. Inside the main conference room of Hayes Technologies, the atmosphere was tense. One executive spoke bluntly. "This relationship is damaging your image." Another added, "Investors are questioning your judgment." A third executive leaned forward. "We're planning a billion-dollar merger next month." He paused before continuing. "And the headlines about you and that waitress aren't helping." Daniel remained calm. "What exactly do you want me to do?" he asked. The chairman answered clearly. "End it." The word echoed around the room. Daniel leaned back in his chair slowly. "No," the chairman frowned. "You're risking billions." Daniel shrugged slightly. "I've risked billions before." "This is different," the chairman insisted. "How?" Daniel's voice remained steady. "Because this time it's personal." The room fell silent, and everyone there realized something uncomfortable. Daniel Hayes wasn't going to back down. Later that evening, Lily sat alone on a park bench. The city lights shimmered across the water nearby. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages. Some supportive, many cruel. For the first time since meeting Daniel, she wondered if continuing this relationship was the right choice. Maybe everyone else was right. Maybe their worlds were simply too different. A black car slowly pulled up beside the park. Daniel stepped out. He immediately noticed the sadness in her face. "You've been reading the comments again," he said gently. Lily didn't deny it. Daniel sat beside her quietly. For several minutes, neither of them spoke. Finally, Lily said something that surprised him. "Maybe we should stop." Daniel turned toward her. "Stop what?" "This." She gestured between them. "Before things get worse." Daniel studied her face carefully. "You don't actually want that," he said calmly. "How do you know?" "Because you wouldn't be this upset if you didn't care." Lily looked down at the ground. He wasn't wrong. Daniel continued, speaking softly. "You're not the problem, Lily. The world around us is." She sighed. "And that world is your world." Daniel nodded slowly. Yes. And it's not always kind. Lily looked up at him again. So why stay in it? Daniel's answer came quietly. Because maybe you're the one thing in that world that's real. The words caught her off guard. And for the first time in days, she smiled again. But someone else had just entered the story. Someone who believed Lily didn't belong anywhere near Daniel Hayes. And that person was about to take action. The following week, Daniel received a call from his longtime friend and business partner, Marcus Reed. Marcus had worked beside Daniel for nearly 15 years. He helped build several of Daniel's most successful companies. They trusted each other completely, or at least Daniel believed they did. Marcus invited him to lunch at a private club. As they sat down, Marcus immediately got straight to the point. You need to be careful, Marcus said. About what? Lily. Daniel frowned slightly. What about her? Marcus leaned forward. I hired a private investigator. Daniel's expression darkened. You did what? Marcus slid a small folder across the table. Just look. Daniel opened it slowly. Inside were photos. Pictures of Lily at work. Pictures of her walking home. Pictures of her with friends. Daniel's voice turned cold. You had someone follow her? Marcus nodded. I'm protecting you. Daniel closed the folder firmly. From what? Marcus answered without hesitation. From someone pretending to love you. Daniel stood up slowly. Don't ever do that again. Marcus sighed. You're blinded by emotions. Daniel looked down at the folder one last time. Then he said something Marcus never expected. She's the only person in my life who doesn't care about my money. Marcus shook his head. You're making a mistake. Daniel's response was calm, but final. No, you are. But as Daniel walked out of the restaurant, he didn't realize something disturbing. Marcus hadn't shown him everything inside that investigation file. And the secret he kept hidden had the power to destroy everything. Daniel tried to forget the folder Marcus had shown him, but the images stayed in his mind. Photos of Lily walking home. Photos of her talking to friends. Photos of her normal life. At first, Daniel believed Marcus had simply crossed a line out of concern. But something about Marcus's behavior that afternoon felt strange. Marcus had investigated Lily, but he hadn't explained what exactly he was looking for. And that question kept bothering Daniel. 3 days later, Marcus called again. Have you looked through the rest of the file? Marcus asked. Daniel frowned. There was nothing else in it. Marcus paused. That's not the file I gave you. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. What are you talking about? Marcus spoke carefully. There were 2 sections. The photos and the background report. Daniel's voice became colder. And where is the report? Marcus hesitated. I didn't give it to you yet. Why not? Because I wanted to be sure first. Daniel stood up from his office chair slowly. Sure about what? Marcus took a deep breath before answering. About Lily. The silence that followed felt heavy. Finally, Daniel said firmly, Bring me the report. Marcus agreed. But when Daniel ended the call, he realized something unsettling. For the first time since meeting Lily, doubt had entered his mind. And doubt can destroy even the strongest relationships. Meanwhile, Lily was experiencing Daniel's world for the first time. A charity gala. The kind of event where billionaires and celebrities gathered in expensive suits and sparkling gowns. Daniel had invited her carefully. You don't have to come, he told her. But I'd like you there. Lily spent an hour deciding what to wear. Her best dress suddenly felt too simple. Her shoes too ordinary. But she reminded herself of something important. Daniel never asked her to change who she was. When they arrived at the gala, dozens of cameras flashed immediately. Whispers spread across the room. That's her. The waitress. The girl Daniel Hayes is dating. Lily tried to ignore the stares. Daniel gently held her hand. But high society can be cruel in subtle ways. One woman approached them with a polite smile. Daniel, good to see you, she said. Then she turned toward Lily. And you must be? Lily. Daniel answered before she could finish. The woman nodded slowly. Yes, I read about you. Her tone carried just enough sarcasm to make the meaning clear. Another guest joined the conversation. A fascinating story, the man said. From serving coffee to attending galas. Lily smiled politely. Yes, she replied. Life is full of surprises. The guests laughed lightly, but Lily could feel the judgment hiding behind their smiles. For the first time, she truly understood how different Daniel's world was from her own. But the hardest moment of the evening had not arrived yet, because someone very important had just entered the room. Daniel's father. Richard Hayes walked across the ballroom with the calm confidence of a man used to controlling every situation. The room subtly parted for him. People respected his power, feared it, even. When he reached Daniel and Lily, he studied Lily carefully for several seconds. His expression revealed nothing. Then he spoke. "So this is Lily." Lily straightened slightly. "Yes, sir." Richard nodded slowly. "You've certainly attracted a lot of attention." His voice sounded polite, but the meaning behind it wasn't. Daniel stepped forward slightly. "Father," Richard raised a hand. "I'd like to speak with her." The tension in the air became obvious. But Lily surprised everyone. "It's all right," she said calmly. Daniel hesitated, but Lily nodded. "I can handle it." Richard led her toward a quiet balcony overlooking the city. The cool night air felt calmer than the crowded ballroom. For a moment, Richard simply looked out across the skyline. Then he spoke. "Do you know how many people try to get close to my son every year?" Lily answered honestly. "I can imagine." Richard turned toward her. "Some want money. Some want status. Some want power." His eyes narrowed slightly. "And some want all three." Lily met his gaze calmly. "I don't want any of those things." Richard studied her face carefully. "Then what do you want?" Her answer came quietly. "Daniel." The simplicity of the response surprised him. But Richard wasn't finished. "You realize loving someone like my son means living under constant scrutiny." "I know. You will be judged." "I already am." Richard paused again. Then he said something cold. "Eventually this relationship will end." Lily didn't respond immediately. Instead, she looked back toward the ballroom, where Daniel stood watching anxiously. Then she turned back to Richard. "Maybe," she admitted. "But that decision won't be yours." For the first time, Richard Hayes looked slightly surprised, because the waitress standing in front of him was far stronger than he expected. But the biggest test for Lily and Daniel was still coming, because Marcus was about to reveal the secret hidden inside that investigation report. And once Daniel read it, everything would change. 2 days after the charity gala, Marcus arrived at Daniel's office carrying a thin black folder. The same folder that had been haunting Daniel's thoughts for days. Marcus placed it on the desk slowly. "I think you should read this carefully," he said. Daniel didn't respond immediately. Instead, he stared at the folder. Part of him didn't want to open it, because sometimes ignorance feels safer than truth. But eventually he reached forward and opened it. Inside were several pages. Background checks. Old records. A few printed documents. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Lily Carter, age 28. Worked several service jobs over the years. Moved apartments frequently. But then Daniel noticed something strange. One page listed a name connected to Lily. A man named Victor Hale. Daniel frowned. "Who is this?" Marcus leaned back in his chair. "That," he said quietly, "is the problem." Daniel's eyes scanned the page again. Victor Hale. The name sounded familiar. Very familiar. Then it clicked. Victor Hale was one of Daniel's biggest competitors in the tech investment world. A ruthless businessman known for aggressive takeovers. Daniel looked up sharply. "Are you suggesting Lily is connected to him?" Marcus shrugged. "The report says Victor Hale used to financially support Lily's mother years ago." Daniel felt a knot forming in his stomach. "That doesn't mean anything." Marcus leaned forward. "Maybe, but it might." Daniel closed the folder slowly. "This doesn't prove anything." Marcus sighed. "Maybe not. But if she's connected to him, you could be walking into a trap." Daniel didn't respond, because even though he wanted to dismiss the report completely, the seed of doubt had already been planted. And doubt grows quickly in powerful minds. Later that evening, Daniel met Lily at the dinner again. The same booth. The same coffee. But something felt different. Daniel was quieter than usual. Lily noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing." "Daniel." She leaned closer. "You're terrible at pretending." He sighed and rubbed his forehead. Then he said something he immediately regretted. "I need to ask you something." "Okay. Do you know someone named Victor Hale?" Lily blinked in confusion. "Victor Hale?" "Yes." She thought for a moment, then slowly nodded. "He used to help my mom years ago." Daniel felt his chest tighten. "How?" "He paid some of her medical bills." Daniel stared at her. "You never told me that." Lily frowned. "You never asked." The tension between them thickened. Daniel opened the folder and slid it across the table. "What is this?" Lily asked. "A background report." She looked up at him slowly. "You investigated me?" Daniel hesitated. "My business partner did." "And you read it." The hurt in her voice was immediate. Lily pushed the folder back toward him. "So this whole time, you didn't trust me?" "That's not true." "Then why am I in a file?" Daniel struggled to answer. But the damage was already done. Lily stood up from the booth. Her eyes were filled with disappointment. "I thought you were different from the rest of them," she said quietly. "Lily." But she was already walking toward the door, leaving Daniel sitting alone again. And for the first time since meeting her, he realized he might have just lost the one person who made his world feel real. That night, Lily walked home alone, anger mixed with sadness inside her chest. Daniel had trusted investigators more than her. But the truth about Victor Hale was far simpler than the report suggested. Years ago, Lily's mother had been seriously ill. Hospital bills piled up quickly. They couldn't afford treatment. Victor Hale had been one of Lily's mother's old acquaintances from years earlier. When he heard about her illness, he paid for several surgeries. No contracts, no expectations, just help. Lily never thought much about it afterward. Until now. But she didn't know something important. Victor Hale had been quietly watching the news about Daniel and Lily for weeks. And when he learned that Daniel had discovered the connection, Victor smiled. Because sometimes the most dangerous move in business is one that looks like kindness. Meanwhile, Daniel sat alone in his penthouse apartment staring at the city skyline. The same skyline that once made him feel powerful. Tonight, it only made him feel empty. He replayed the conversation with Lily again and again. The disappointment in her eyes. The hurt in her voice. He realized something painful. The world had taught him to trust numbers, reports, and investigations. But Lily had offered him something else. Trust without conditions. And he had just broken it. Daniel picked up his phone. He considered calling her, apologizing. But something stopped him. Because what if Marcus was right? What if Lily really was connected to Victor Hale somehow? The doubt returned again. And that doubt was exactly what someone else wanted. Because across the city, Victor Hale was preparing his next move. And that move would push Daniel and Lily's relationship to its breaking point. The next morning, the city was buzzing with news of Daniel Hayes' relationship with Lily. But someone else was quietly observing from the shadows. Victor Hale, a man known for his ruthless business tactics, impeccable suits, and a reputation that made even the wealthiest executives nervous. Victor had never forgotten the girl his old help had touched. And now, seeing her in the orbit of the most powerful man in the country, he had a plan. Victor's private office overlooked the city skyline. He tapped his fingers on the desk, eyes fixed on a photo of Lily and Daniel. A smile slowly formed. "Perfect," he whispered. He knew that Daniel's trust in Lily could be shaken, if only he played the right card. And Victor had decades of experience manipulating situations to his advantage. Meanwhile, Lily tried to return to normal. She went to the diner, poured coffee, and smiled at customers. But every glance at the news on her phone reminded her that she wasn't safe from scrutiny. And she couldn't shake the memory of Daniel reading that report Marcus had brought. By the afternoon, Daniel finally tracked her down at a small park near her apartment. She was sitting on a bench, staring at her phone, scrolling through messages, trying not to cry. "Lily," Daniel said quietly, approaching her. She looked up, eyes red from sleepless nights. "Daniel, I don't know if I can do this anymore," she said. Her voice trembled. "You had investigators look into me. You doubted me before even speaking to me. And now it feels like the world wants to tear us apart." Daniel knelt beside her, taking her hand. "I know," he said softly. "I made a mistake. But I also know that you're the only person who has ever been real to me. And I can't let you go." Lily looked away. Even if Victor Hale is involved. Daniel's expression darkened. Especially if Victor Hale is involved. Because he's trying to manipulate this entire situation. And I won't let him win. That evening, Daniel arranged a meeting with Victor Hale in a neutral location, a sleek, modern office on the 45th floor of a downtown skyscraper. Victor rose as Daniel entered. "Ah, Daniel Hayes. I see your taste in women hasn't improved." His words were sharp, laced with sarcasm. Daniel remained calm. "I'm not here to play games, Victor. I want answers. Why did you help Lily's mother all those years ago?" Victor smirked. "Why? Because she needed it. And because it gave me a sense of control." His eyes glinted. "But now, seeing you get involved, I see an opportunity." Daniel's jaw tightened. "An opportunity to what?" Victor leaned forward. "To show you that not everyone is who they seem. You trust her too quickly. She may be kind, but she has ties to my network. And in business, ties like that can be dangerous." Daniel felt anger rising. "She never asked for anything from you. She never asked for anything from me. And now you're trying to make me doubt her? I won't fall for it." Victor laughed softly. "We'll see, Daniel. We'll see. Back at her apartment, Lily sat in silence. The events of the week had left her exhausted. But her phone rang suddenly. It was Daniel. Lily, can you meet me? I have to tell you everything about Victor. When she arrived, Daniel handed her a folder. Inside were documents, emails, and photographs showing Victor's past manipulations in the business world. Victor isn't just a businessman, Daniel said. He's a strategist. He manipulates people to gain power. He wants to test you, to test us. Lily's eyes widened. So, I'm not the problem. Daniel shook his head. You've never been the problem. You're the only thing real in my life. But now, Victor wants to use the world against us. Lily took a deep breath. Then we fight together. Daniel smiled. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Despite their resolve, tension escalated. The next week, at another charity gala, Daniel and Lily faced subtle attacks from the press and from society's elite. Whispered comments, disapproving glances, even Daniel's father's cold stares. Finally, after the gala, a heated argument erupted in the limousine. Why do you keep exposing me to all this? Lily shouted. Why can't you just protect me? Daniel's voice rose. Because I can't protect you from yourself. You need to know I trust you, not shield you from life. Every choice, every moment, we face it together. Silence followed. Both were breathing heavily, hearts pounding. Then Lily whispered, I don't know if I can handle your world. Daniel reached for her hands. You don't have to handle it alone. I'm here. Always. The limo fell quiet again, filled only with the sound of the city at night. The city skyline shimmered as Daniel led Lily to the rooftop of his tallest skyscraper. The wind was strong, the night alive with lights. You wanted honesty, Daniel said quietly. Tonight, I'll give you more than that. Lily looked at him nervously. Daniel, what is this? He smiled, dropping to one knee. The city lights reflected in his eyes. Lily Carter, I've walked through life surrounded by people who wanted something from me. Everyone except you. You've shown me what real love is. Honest, kind, and fearless. Will you marry me? Lily's hands flew to her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. Daniel, yes. But just as she nodded, a notification pinged on Daniel's phone. Victor Hale's latest move had gone public. A company Daniel had been planning to acquire suddenly faced sabotage. The news headline screamed, Victor Hale strikes again. The billionaire's empire is threatened. Daniel's joy mixed with tension. He held Lily's hands tighter. We can face this together. The next morning, news channels covered Victor Hale's aggressive maneuver. Analysts debated if Daniel's empire could survive. Investors panicked. And the media speculated on how this would affect Daniel's relationship with Lily. Meanwhile, Victor sat in his office, sipping whiskey, a smile curling across his lips. Let's see if they survive love and business at the same time, he murmured. At the dinner, Lily read the headlines and felt panic rise. She knew she had to trust Daniel, but the pressure of the world threatened to crush her. When Daniel arrived, he saw her pale face. He held her hand. We'll get through this, he said. I promise. No one can tear us apart if we stand together. Lily nodded, wiping tears. I trust you. Daniel's father, who had been watching quietly from the sidelines, finally approached. His tone was softer now. You've proven something tonight, Lily. You're stronger than I expected. Lily looked at him, surprised. Thank you, sir. Richard Hayes nodded. Your love isn't fake. And maybe that's exactly what my son needed. Despite Victor's interference, Daniel and Lily pressed on. They planned a small, intimate wedding far from the public eye. Just family, close friends, and the city skyline as their witness. The day arrived. Lily wore a simple but elegant dress. Daniel, in a classic black suit, couldn't stop smiling. As they exchanged vows, a soft rain began to fall, drizzling on the rooftop. It felt symbolic, washing away doubt, fear, and judgment. I promise to stand by you, Daniel said. Through storms, scrutiny, and anything life throws at us. Lily held his hands tightly. I promise to love you for who you are, not what you have. A gentle cheer rose from the few guests present, and for the first time in years, Daniel felt completely at peace. Victor Hale didn't give up. A few hours after the wedding, he tried to launch a legal maneuver to challenge one of Daniel's acquisitions, hoping to create chaos. But Daniel was prepared. With Marcus by his side, every move Victor tried was countered swiftly. Each attack failed, leaving Victor frustrated and furious. Lily watched Daniel handle the situation with calm determination. She realized the man she loved wasn't just a billionaire. He was fearless when it mattered most, and her support made him even stronger. Victor finally retreated, defeated, knowing he couldn't break what was built on trust and honesty. Months later, Daniel and Lily settled into a rhythm together. The media still speculated about their relationship, but neither cared anymore. They laughed over breakfast, walked hand in hand through the park, and built a life grounded in love, trust, and respect. Daniel never again let reports or business rivals interfere with his heart. Lily never again doubted her place by his side. Their worlds, once so different, had merged into one, and it was stronger, real, and beautiful. Finally, standing together on the rooftop where he proposed, Daniel whispered, "Thank you for choosing me." Lily smiled. "Thank you for trusting me." The city lights sparkled below them. The billionaire and the waitress, against all odds, had built a life nobody could take away. Fade out. If this story made you feel something, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel with someone who needs to hear it for more true love stories that defy the odds. Thanks for staying till the end.